Tobago. And let's go to Tobago, where we have the deputy political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots, Dr. Faith B. 𝐔𝐻𝐜𝐲𝐬, on the line. And we want to talk a little bit, Tony Lee, about what transpired yesterday in the Parliament with the acceptance of this motion and the proposal of the Elections and Boundaries Commission. The way is now being cleared for fresh elections in Tobago. Dr. 𝐔𝐻𝐲𝐬, good morning to you.
Morning to you, ma'am.
Hi, good morning. Good morning. Thanks for having me on.
And thank you very much for agreeing to talk with us this morning. Well, it looks like it's one step closer to an election.
Oh, it is. We are ready and waiting. Tobago is kind of sick and tired of what has transpired over the last couple months. So we press on.
Yeah, actually, yes, it's funny that you said that, because yesterday Prime Minister Dr. Keith Rowley, Tony, Prime Minister Rowley said Tobagonians want this to be over with. They're eager to get it over with. And you're more or less saying the same thing.
Yes, because Tobagonians on January 25th gave a clear mandate. We went to the polls. We had 12 seats. One party was given 6 seats. The other party was given 6 seats. And the people on the ground were telling us they want us to work together. We tried to work together. Obviously, that did not work. That did not transpire. And people have been anxious to resolve this issue. Now, granted, Tobagonians were hoping that it would be resolved via the Tobago autonomy issue being dealt with, and that we were hoping would trigger the next election. But we are where we are now. What they've done is simply amend the old Tobago House of Assembly Act, which allows for now 15 seats. It also allows for the chief sec to then call fresh elections because we are at a standstill. So that is where we are, and that is what we are going to do.
Let me ask as well, at this point, with an additional 3 seats, let's use the word seats, your analysis of the 3, does it help or hurt your party?
Well, I think that Tobago sees what has happened over the last 8 months. Tobago sees where the island has been over the last 21 years. And Tobago is ready for change. So we have been looking at the shifts. We have been looking at the boundaries. We've been looking at the data that we have. And we are confident that Tobago would make the right choice. And that right choice would be to allow the PDP to show what we can do, to allow us the opportunity to govern Tobago, to show that we can do what the other party has not done over the last 20 years. So we are confident that going into this, whatever date the election will be, the PDP will be successful.
But I think, and if I can jump off on what Tony asked, are you seeing where there's an advantage being given to the PNM by these boundary shifts?
Or is it to you?
Or is it to you that it may be more?
What are you seeing initially as you look at the 3 additional seats?
So when you look at if you just look at the map, the 3 additional seats happened solely in the areas where the PNM had their 6 seats. So we went from 6 seats to the PNM to now a space where there are 9 seats. So that seems to give the PNM an advantage in that regard. What we thought the EBC would have done was to, in essence, scrap the 12 seats that we have now and start from scratch creating 15 brand new seats. They chose not to do that for whatever reason. They chose to use their method, which in some instances they said looked at the number of the seats with the largest number of people, amalgamating different groups and that kind of thing. So right now, it seems to give the PNM an advantage, but the reality is that the people of Tobago is who gets to decide where the advantage lies. And we know for a fact that the PDP has the momentum. Remember, we started with Mr. Duke being an independent candidate, so the party wasn't even formed in 2015 when he contested. We then formed the party in late 2016 and contested the 2017 election, and we got 2 out of the 12 seats. And 4 years later, we got 6 out of the 12 seats. So it is clearly showing that Tobagonians have confidence in us. They have more confidence in us than they had initially. Those of us who are assemblymen who were in the Tobago House of Assembly between 2017 and 2021 have proved our worth, and I think that is why we were able to get up to 6 seats in early 2021. And those of us who are assemblymen now, even though, for example, we have been sitting on the outside of the executive because we are just assemblymen, they refuse to have any real negotiation for us to share power. We have been working, even those members who did not succeed, as in the 6 PDP candidates who are not assemblymen, they have actually been working tirelessly since then. So Tobago is seeing who has been working for them, who has been doing the hard work, who has actually been basically taking money out of our own pockets, because we don't get money to do anything in our district. But we have been providing support, and I think Tobago is ready for that kind of change, and we will be successful whenever the election comes around.
Well, the election could very well be before the end of the year. It seems that way. Nevertheless, is the PDP contemplating at all, or is the PDP open to alliances with other political entities?
Well, if you listen to us on the 25th, the night of the 25th of January in Roxborough, when Mr. Duke made his speech, Mr. Farley Augustine also spoke. At that point, we said this was an opportunity for Tobago to allow us to be mature, and even at that point, to work with the PNM. We were the ones who said that in Roxborough the night of the election in January. So we've never not been open to working with other parties, and the fact that we were even willing to give up the most prestigious, the most powerful positions within the Tobago House of Assembly just so that we can get the governance going shows that the PDP is here for Tobago and not just for party. We've always been very clear about that.
But
have you initiated any kinds of discussions?
Has there been any outreach at all? Or have people approached you, like political entities?
Well, we are seeing this Tobago House of Assembly election right now is really between two parties, the PDP and the PNM. We have not been approached by any other political entity. We will contest all 15 seats. We have already started the process of looking at the best, individuals to contest all 15 seats, and that is what we will do. When the results come through, when we see what happens with the results, then we could have conversations with other political parties if it is necessary. But the PDP will contest all 15 seats, and we hope to win having contested all 15 seats.
So if I am to conclude on this particular point, you are fighting this election strictly on your own.
But we fought every election on our own.
Right. So I just want to make sure, because we were talking about whether or not you would get into...
I think it needs to be clear. When we fought the election in 2017, it was the PDP fighting the election on our own. When we fought the election in August, the general election, it was the PDP fighting on our own. When we fought in January this year, it was the PDP fighting on our own. And we will do that continually. Now, it's important to understand that the organization known as the PDP has always been open and ready to work with others. So, for example, some of the candidates, as a matter of fact, one of our assemblymen right now, Pastor Terence Baines, he was actually the political leader of the Tobago Forward. And just before the election, he basically brought the Tobago Forwards to be encompassed within the PDP. So we have been working. Another one of our candidates who was not successful but most likely will go again, Mr. Joel Sampson, who contested that Canaan-Bonaccord seat. He was actually a member of the PNM shortly before, and then he realized, okay, that party is not representing Tobago, so let me try with another party. So the PDP has always been open and welcoming to others, but we are contesting the election under the banner of the Progressive Democratic Patriot.
The PNM has been very vocal and has been putting in the mix a hidden alliance between your party and the UNC. Once again, can you tell us if there have been any talks at all between the PDP and the UNC, and what kind of relationship does the PDP have with the UNC, if any?
The PDP is an organization that was birthed out of Tobago. It is an organization that is bred out of Tobago. It is a Tobago-centric organization. We have no formal or informal relationship with the UNC. I think that the fact that the PNM has been using that really is showing that they have been using a kind of race baiting kind of thing to conjure up this feeling. I mean, you can't even say to conjure up. They said it a couple elections ago where they spoke about the Calcutta ship coming and insinuating this racial thing. And they have been trying to link the PDP with the UNC to continue on that road of pure racism. We are an organization that is a Tobago-based, a Tobago-centric organization. As a matter of fact, we launched our political campaign last night. We launched our political campaign where we are, let me fix this. That is our theme. And it was only after coming out of that, our launch last night, we were looking at the news and so forth and hearing, for example, talks coming out of the UNC about possibly taking the government to court because of the new 15 seats and all of that. And that was the first we'd even heard about it. Because, again, the PDP is very, very focused on these upcoming elections because that is what the people in Tobago want. They want to go back to the polls to be very, very decisive, to let us know who they want to govern them. And that is where we are heading.
Yeah. All right. Well, we want to thank you. I know we will speak with you a few more times before the actual day of the vote. So thank you for your initial comments this hour
Thank you
morning.
very much.
Thank you,
Dr. 𝐔𝐻𝐜𝐬𝐬.
Dr. 𝐔𝐻𝐬𝐬. Thank you.
Thank you for having me, and it was a pleasure chatting with you.
Faith B. 𝐔𝐻𝐬𝐬 there, the deputy political leader of the Progressive Democratic Patriots.
So it's she made me chuckle just now. She said, "Let me fix it."
That's the campaign slogan. That's interesting.
That's the campaign of the
PDP.
The PDP for the upcoming elections, which is anticipated at the end or before the end of the year.
I think before the end of the year, because
their campaign theme is
fix it.
Let me fix it.
Let me fix it. They launched it last night. According to what.
So they started their campaign for the upcoming elections, date to be announced last night.
Yeah.
So as soon as this was fixed in the parliament,
because
they start one time.
Because this has now cleared what took place in the parliament yesterday. Has now cleared the way for the dissolution of the assembly, which hasn't been functioning for more than a year.
Right.
And the naming of the election date.
So that, in a real sense, you really just have October, November, 2 months,
Yeah. And if it's early November.
Or let's say early December.
Well, the government has budget to focus on for now.
Yeah, that's next month.
Budget day is on the 4th of October. I would think by the end of the budget process, they'll have
a date.
Yeah, I suspect.
Yeah. All right, so there you have it, folks.
But there's another issue that